guys know that line, like in TV or movies, that says, "From that day on, my life changed forever"? Well, that line does appear in real life. And that line did appear to me 4 years ago. When I was 13, I felt a pain so excruciating that my life and who I thought I was changed. Let's begin by the actual story. We were in our family back in Colombia, in the outskirts of the capital, Bogota, and we were all enjoying a family barbecue. Well, I mean, not yet, because we were waiting for the food, but you know there's always that one family member that wants the food now and doesn't want to wait? Yeah, we had that. And what me and my mother decided to do is we decided to cook an old piece of rubbery steak in one of those old charcoal barbecues, the ones that are like this tall and look really dangerous. So when we were trying to light it, we didn't know that our first attempts had already worked, had already been successful, as the flame was already hiding underneath the pile of coal, which was away from our sight. So we decided to use the amazing product of special lighting ethanol. Yep. So when it was poured, the next 8 seconds of the story would completely change my life forever. The reaction created this fireball that for 8 seconds burnt my jacket, my shirt, and my pants. 8 seconds I was on fire. Eight. But it felt like hours. And if it weren't for my own uncle and my own mother, that they risked their own lives to save mine, I wouldn't be here. But once the flames were out and the pain started to kick in, my trip to the hospital began. 30 minutes of excruciating pain to get to the nearest healthcare center in one of the nearby towns. Then from there we transferred into a 2-hour ride in an ambulance to the nearest hospital. It wasn't 2 hours, it was, I don't know, I was drugged. I really didn't know what was happening, but that's not the point. So we get there and we wait hours to get attended. After all, it was a public hospital, but it was the best one for burns, so we decided to go there. And once we were accepted there, the recovery period started. Yes. Every 2 days, baths on my bare skin, 2 surgeries, countless amount of nights that I couldn't sleep because of the pain, and mostly no one to keep me from my young and naive thoughts. But don't start feeling bad for me now. I mean, there was people that are way worse. Not only adults like people here, but all kids as well, from 2 to 12. Little kids. Let me put this in perspective. I have 14% of my body covered in third-degree burns. My hand, my inner thigh, and my abdomen. There were kids that had 30, 40, 50% of their whole bodies consumed in third-degree burns. That's half your body. My neighbor had his whole legs burnt off. One of the worst cases I saw was a little girl. In one of my midnight walks, I decided to go around the floor. Yeah, I had midnight walks. It was crazy. And I saw a bunch of people rushing in. So me being curious, I'm 13, I'm curious. And I asked, who is this? And after everyone came down, I asked one of the nurses, and she told me, oh, this little girl, she bit into a cable, and half of her mouth, this part, was all gone. Obviously, I was shocked. Who can't be shocked? This little girl, she was 2. So I went to sleep, and I told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to the parents tomorrow. So next day, I will try and talk to the parents, but I don't see them. And I try and ask the nurses, where are they? The ones that were yesterday. Turns out the little girl didn't survive the night. And that wasn't the only case. Many people didn't get to live their lives, young kids. And that made me think, and made me commit my first mistake. And that first mistake was helping others by not helping myself. What do I mean by this? I'm not saying don't help others. No. You want to help others? Go ahead. I fully support it. But don't you dare help others just to treat your own pain and just to hide your own pain, because that's not going to work. But I didn't know this. I was 13, so I kept continuing doing it. I kept trying to help everyone just to try and avoid my own pain, my own physical and emotional pain. I continued. I didn't allow counselors to come to my room and start talking to me. I didn't allow all these different clowns to come and try and cheer us up. Yeah, clowns, terrible idea for a hospital. But that was my life for a month. And for that month, I lived like that. Agony, really. But then afterwards, I left. And when you're supposed to leave the hospital, you're supposed to be cured. You're supposed to be happier than you were before, right? Well, that wasn't the case for me. I was the complete opposite. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I was happy to leave that hospital. It was good. But even though my burns were starting to heal and my scars were starting to fade, inside, I was not in a good position. I wasn't. See, during the hospital, I built up so much emotion that I didn't know how to handle, and it was hurting me. But I decided to ignore it. The hospital made me mature in a way faster the way that any 13-year-old should mature in. And I adapted into this person that couldn't even speak about anything wrong with him. I couldn't. There was no way that I was going to push the words out. At least I thought there was no way. So I continued. And I continued not speaking about anything. See, the hospital made me realize also my second mistake. That I preferred physical pain over emotional pain. Big mistake. Some of you might rethink, yep, I'm not afraid to say it. I did cut myself many times. I did find many different ways of trying to hide my emotional pain just through physical pain. I even went as far as trying to commit suicide. I remember that day as clear as I see you guys. It was one of those kitchen knives, and I was standing in my bathroom, and I put the kitchen knife to my neck. I was looking at myself, but then a spur of reason came through me. It made me think, why are you doing this? Why? How is this going to benefit you? How is this going to benefit the people you love? That's just going to make it worse? And thanks to that moment of reason, I dropped the knife, I kneeled, and I started crying. Now, crying took sheer willpower, because if it wasn't for that reason, for that spark of reason that only lasted like 2 seconds, I wouldn't be here. You don't know who Nicholas Sankar was. People, only my family would know who Nicholas Sankar was, because he would be 6 feet underground with a cross above his head. But thank God I didn't. And thank God I'm here. See, in these kind of situations, I realized that the madness had to stop. But how? How was I going to be able to do it if no one has told me, because I was stubborn not to try and learn how to do it? How was I going to do it? I had no idea. I really had no idea. So I let 3 years go by. 3 years of me reaching a boiling point where one day, 3 years later, I just snapped and just go, you know what? No. I'm going to go talk to a counselor. So I did. A lot of willpower to do it. Just so much strength had to come out of me for that. But now the counselor didn't really help me much. It did make me realize the fact that I had to find a way to speak up. Find a way to talk about what I felt. So I tried what everyone would recommend you to do. Talk to the people that are closest to you. I talked to my parents. Now that didn't go as well as expected, because I couldn't talk as much as I wanted to. I had words that were built into me that just wouldn't leave my mouth. I did spill some out, And I was hiding something, Mom. And then I kept trying with different types of scenarios. I tried writing, I tried reading, didn't help. Until one day I was just talking to a bunch of people, 10 people. And then the topic of conversation came up about the burns. And I just kept talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And I realized at one point I was like, whoa. I literally just opened up to 10 people more than I have opened up to my own parents. Why? Well, it turns out I have no idea. But what I did realize was that really did help, because I found a way to deal with the emotional pain rather than having to recur to knives and punching walls. So I found it. And I mean, it's working, because all of you are listening, I hope, and all of you know the story. But for some reason, that's the way I do it. I can talk to all of you, but I can't talk to you individually. Why? I don't know. But now let's go into a lighter note, because I feel like you guys are sad. But why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you all this depressing stuff? That's because of the reason behind it. Now I know that I'm 17, and as soon as you have that teen at the end of your age, you immediately lose 10 credibility points. Yeah. So I know that you may not be attention as someone that's 35 with 3 kids telling you the same thing. But I ask you to really trust in what I'm saying. And if you relate to this, please have this in mind. Because really, even if I would say it, or someone that was 45 saying it, it's the same message. I'd like to mention one word. And that word is resilience. Now, according to Merriam-Webster, the meaning of resilience is an ability to overcome a hard situation or change. Now, what bothers me about this meaning is the fact that it says the word ability. So immediately people are going to be able to think, oh, it's an ability. Nick, not everyone has the same abilities. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to have resilience because I don't have that ability. Well, I couldn't disagree with you more, because this is an ability that everyone in this room and everyone watching and everyone backstage has. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim. I don't care if you have the biceps the size of a watermelon, or if you have a PhD in nuclear physics. Everyone has this gift. Because if it weren't for this gift, we wouldn't have that second gift of life that our parents gave us. We wouldn't be living if it weren't for that gift we have. Now, some people don't realize this, and if you have, perfect. Take advantage of it. I encourage you as much as possible. Please do it. But if you don't, you had to realize that you have this gift, and you're able to do things that you don't even think you can. But there's many ways in which you can also tell me, but how? Of course, I'm not going to tell you a specific reason, because after all, I'm 17, and I don't know anything. But what I can tell you is give you an example, and give you a way in which you can base your tree off. And that's through the use of, have this in mind. Everyone in this life has a goal. Everyone has a passion. Everyone has something you want to work for in your life, something you want to achieve before you die. Whether that's drama, whether that's math, whether that's sports, whether that's dance, whether that's becoming a speaker. Everyone has that. Now, obviously, if you really want that, you're going to have to go through a journey. And that journey is going to be filled with rocks, many different sizes. Now, those rocks symbolize problems. And those kind of problems obviously differ in sizes. Some may be really small, some may be huge. But how I'm asking you to deal with this is I'm asking you to inflate your dream. Inflate that passion you have for whatever you want in life. Doesn't matter if you're 40, doesn't matter if you're 17, doesn't matter if you're 10 or 60. Everyone has something that they want to achieve before they die. Doesn't matter if they already achieved it. You get something else, and you push through. So inflate that dream so that whenever you encounter a rock, you can see your dream above that rock. Don't do what I did at first. That you build an invisible wall, which people can see through, but they can't get to you, and that you can't go out of it. Now, through that rock, there's many different ways of dealing with it. You need to find your own way. But what's going to get you to find your own way is that dream. And that dream is going to make sure that that massive rock, whatever you encounter, is going to be as easy as just stepping over a grain of sand. Because if you're really passionate about something, you will overcome anything that goes in your life. Some things are hard, yes. But when you have the mentality to go through it and stand right in front of that rock and say, I'm not going to get knocked down by this, I am strong. That's what you need to do. And that's going to get you through that rock as easy as it's just slicing a knife through butter. So this is the part where I give my conclusion. So what's that conclusion? My conclusion is basically have in mind the gifts that you have ever since you were born. Everyone here, everyone watching. You have a gift. Resilience. Use it. Use it. Please use it because I believe in you. However, what do I know? I'm only 17. Thank you.